January 18, 2024 was a historical day in Singapore's politics, but not really for the right reasons. At around 8 a.m. in the morning, Transport Minister S. Iswaran was dropped off outside the state courts. He had been the subject of a recently completed CPIB probe since July last year. Iswaran entered the court building alongside his legal team, led by top litigator and senior counsel Beng Seng. Inside, he was handed 27 charges, including for corruption, obtaining valuables as a civil servant, and obstructing justice. Court documents revealed that Iswaran is accused of having improperly received tickets to football matches, theatre shows, and the Singapore Grand Prix. He pleaded not guilty. About an hour later, Iswaran emerged from court.
I'll put out a statement later.
In that statement, he insisted on his innocence and said that he would focus on clearing his name. He also said that he would return the salary that he had received as a minister and the allowances that he had gotten as an MP since the start of CPIB's investigations. Before noon, Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong released a statement announcing that he had accepted Iswaran's decision to resign as a cabinet minister, as an MP, and as a member of the People's Action Party. The government has dealt with this case rigorously, in accordance with the law, and will continue to do so. I am determined to uphold the integrity of the party and the government and our reputation for honesty and incorruptibility. Singaporeans expect no less, wrote the Prime Minister. Accompanying the statement were 2 letters of resignation from Iswaran and PM Lee's reply. Chee Hong Tat will take on Iswaran's transport portfolio as the newly promoted full minister, and Grace Fu will take on the trade relations responsibilities previously held by Iswaran. Deputy Prime Minister Lawrence Wong spoke to the media and reiterated that the PAP stance on corruption was non-negotiable.
There can be no compromise, no relaxation, no fudging on this, no matter the political price. This is part of our DNA. The PAP government will continue to do everything we can to uphold the highest standards of integrity, incorruptibility and propriety, and that's how we maintain the trust that Singaporeans have placed in us. CPIB pursued this matter on its own accord. This was what Prime Minister had explained earlier in Parliament. There was no tip-off, there was no whistleblower. It was CPIB that uncovered the matter, reported it up. The Prime Minister agreed for the investigation to proceed.
DPM Wong referred to a code of conduct, which sets out principles and rules for how ministers should act.
The key principles underpinning the code are clear, they are sound, they are valid. For example, on gifts, ministers should not receive gifts that place them under obligation in a conflict of interest position. As far as the impact on succession is concerned, there will be no impact. This plan remains on track.
Later in the evening, Minister for National Development Desmond Lee, who's an MP for West Coast GRC, Iswaran's former constituency, gave a doorstop interview.
As fellow MPs and as community leaders, having worked many years with him, we are saddened by this development that he has had to resign under these circumstances. Nevertheless, we respect the system being fair, impartial and robust. We let the system take its course.
Law professor and political commentator Eugene Tan described the development as a body blow to the ruling party.
It is a severe dent to their reputation because this is a party that has prided itself with high standards of public life, of incorruptibility, or in their own words, right, being whiter than white. In the 2020 general election, the People's Action Party won by the slimmest margin. So that constituency, would come under fairly severe threat. I think the party will want to ensure that they are able to defend West Coast GRC, despite the former anchor being implicated in this corruption scandal.
One of the big questions surrounding the case is what will happen to Beng Seng. Among his charges, Iswaran is accused of corruptly obtaining gratification worth more than $145,000 from Ong. This was allegedly in exchange for advancing Ong's business interests in relation to a contract between the Singapore Grand Prix and the Singapore Tourism Board. The Attorney General's chambers said they had yet to make a decision on whether to take any action against the billionaire hotelier.